What's up planters, and welcome back to my channel. And today I'm going to do a follow-up video on a previous video that I made about growing plants in Lechuza Pon. But I decided to not call it Lechuza Pon any longer because I actually got annoyed by myself because I was saying it the whole time. So one last time, Pon is a substrate that is from the brand Lechuza. So today I am just going to show you how you can transfer your plants from a soil substrate or any other substrate into the pon. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the plant that we are gonna repot today is gonna be this Hoya carnosa. And it actually bloomed a couple of weeks ago, so that was very exciting. But I have read that these Hoyas, they also love to be in a semi-hydro setup, which is the pon as well. So for today we're going to repot this beauty. I actually wanted to repot an alocasia because I promised to show it with an alocasia to someone, but I'm not gonna do that because my alocasia is right now pushing out a new leaf after so much time, so I do not want to disturb the roots. So it's gonna be this beautiful Hoya carnosa. Let's get started. Let's start repotting this beauty into the Lechuza Pon. So here we go with step 1. The first step is to get the plant out of the pot because we do not want to have the soil anymore. As you can see, it is really rooted and it is root bound, which means that the roots all tangled up together in the pot. So that makes it harder to repot it because I want to make sure that I'm gonna keep as much roots as possible. But during this process there is a very big chance that I'm gonna lose some roots. You kinda have to do this the hard way, and that is by ripping up the soil. So what I'm doing is I am really pushing in the middle because I can feel that there are not a lot of roots there. And as I'm pushing in the middle, I'm kind of making a little hole like this. In this hole I am gonna go and stir around. This is kind of weird to say, but you gotta make sure that you make the soil loose, so you can maybe squeeze it a little bit, and you need to make sure that you're working from inside out because as you can see the roots, they're all over here, and in the middle it feels like there are less roots, but this depends on which plant you are using. So now I'm gonna try and get as much soil out of this little plant. Later on in this video I will also explain something about fertilizing in Lechuza Pon because I actually got quite some questions on Instagram and also on YouTube about how you fertilize in Lechuza Pon because, and I am still saying Lechuza Pon, I mean in the pon. So we're gonna talk about that later because there is indeed synthetic fertilizer in the pon, but I'm also using something else because for me, well, I'm not gonna spill the secret yet, so keep watching and you find out why I also use a normal fertilizer next to the pon fertilizer. Another thing that also can help is if you just shake the plant. I don't know if you can see it, but there is a lot of soil coming off if you just shake your plant. And also you shouldn't be too scared if you have to remove some roots or if some roots come off the plant, because in this process it's almost impossible to keep all the roots intact. So don't be scared to use a little bit of aggression when trying to get the soil off the roots. So now that we have removed most of our soil from the roots, it is time to go to step 2, and that is really rinse the roots under water. I want to do a little disclaimer because I am using a big bucket under my sink, so all the water that comes into my sink I will later use to water my plants. So in the beginning I didn't do that, and some people told me that it is a lot of waste of water, and they were totally correct. So if you are gonna rinse roots, you can either use a bucket and wash the roots in there, or you can put a bucket under your sink so you will catch all the water. But be very careful, because you don't want the bucket to overflow, because otherwise you will have a waterfall. We are right now in my kitchen, and I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to rinse these plants. As you can see right now, the roots, they look like this. There is still some soil on it, and I'm just going to rinse it with hand warm water. It is very important that you do not use warm water, hot water or cold water. It is important to use hand warm water, or you can use just, I don't know how to say it in English, but just medium water. Let's start washing these cuttings. So when you're washing the cuttings, you should feel with your fingers and take off as much soil as you can. I know that it is almost impossible to clean everything of the roots, but just try to get off as much as you can. The reason why we are trying to get as much soil off the plant as possible is because the pond is quite a moist substrate, and it's a perfect combination between aeration or air and water. But if the roots are covered in soil, that part will stay too wet for too long and might start rotting. So that's also something that can happen when you're gonna transfer your plants from soil to pond, because sometimes they need to acclimate a little bit, and then you can get some rot roots. So you shouldn't be too worried about that, because, well, I never had a plant that died. But if your roots look something like this, you are good to go to the next step. Here we are back again in my living room, and we are gonna do the last step, which is putting the plant in the substrate. I wanna tell you something before we're gonna do that, because today I have used a Hoya to convert, and the Hoya has quite delicate roots, so they are kind of thin, they come off very quickly. So if you are planning on converting some plants into the pond, I would suggest using maybe a ficus, because that one has really thick roots and it is doing amazing in pond. Or you can maybe use a philodendron or a monstera, because these type of plants, they have thicker roots, so it's easier to transfer them into the pond, because it's just easier to clean the roots. I am using a terracotta pot, and I am using the pond in a way that I explained in a previous video, but I'm just gonna put it up in this terracotta pot. As you can see, the terracotta pot has a hole in it, so as you know, the pond is very small. So what I always use one of those little leca clay balls, and I'm gonna put it in or on the hole. As you can see, it now covers the hole, so water will come in, but the pond won't fall out. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to add a little bit of pond into your pot. And I always look at my roots. So these roots are not very long. I always put them the way I want them, so like this, and then I add the other cuttings, because now is also the time for you to find a way how you think the plants look the prettiest. I'm actually using the old pot because the roots aren't that long or big, so I have actually covered the whole pot with the cuttings now. Normally I ask my boyfriend to help me in this part, because I need to hold them down, and while I'm holding them down he needs to throw in the pond. So I think for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to use one little cutting to show you how you need to pot it up. So first you need to use a little bit of pan at the bottom, and I just use the leca to cover up the hole, and then you're just going to throw the other pan on top of your plant. I want to tell you something really quick while I'm doing this, because it is important that when you are transferring your plant, that maybe in the beginning your plant won't look that happy because you just removed all the soil from the roots. So I would definitely suggest that giving it some rest after you repot it, because otherwise your plant might, if you're gonna transfer it back to soil after maybe 1 or 2 weeks, then the plant is gonna get more stressed and might eventually die. So I would definitely suggest that you wait a couple of weeks, maybe a month or so, and if your plant isn't looking happy in the pond, I cannot imagine it wouldn't, but if that is the case, I would suggest transferring it back to another substrate, but you should give it some time to acclimate, because it's a different way of growing, and yeah, some plants, they need their time. It's all potted up, let me show you. So as I told you before, for the purpose of this video, I just used one string. Normally I would put them together, so I put the pan at the top, so it's totally covered in pan. And now it's time for the last part of this video, which is the fertilizing. I have used different fertilizers in the past, and the problem with that fertilizer was that you needed to adjust the pH to a certain level so the plants could get all the nutrients out of the water into their roots and into their system. So I was actually kind of skeptic about this product, and I thought it was kind of hyped, which it was. But I have also been using liquid gold leaf for my plants since maybe a month or 2, and I must admit that I'm quite happy with the product. I mean, my plants have always been growing quite good, and even with the liquid gold leaf, they are still doing very good. One plant is actually kind of a miracle, because that one wasn't growing for, I would say, a year, and I gave it some liquid gold leaf and now it is growing. So yeah, I'm convinced that it works and I'm quite happy with it. And the good part is you do not need to adjust the pH with this fertilizer, because I don't know how it works, and I once had a discussion with someone about the subject, but I totally forgot how it works. But it makes sure that the pH stays on a certain level. So you do not need to use pH adjusted water or pH adjusted water with the fertilizer. So I would definitely recommend buying a bottle like this. I know that there are other brands as well which have a pH neutral fertilizer, which you can also use, but I'm quite happy with this one. And what I use is 0.5 milliliter liquid gold leaf with every liter of water. So now that we have just repotted our plant from the soil to the pond, I wouldn't suggest fertilizing it immediately, because there is already fertilizer in the pond. Don't fertilize in the first 4 to 6 weeks, and after that you can just fertilize. I actually fertilize every time I water my plant. Definitely in growing season I add this fertilizer to give a little bit more of a boost, and in winter I'm not fertilizing at all. Just one last thing, the fertilizer that is in the pond will last up for 6 months. So if you are maybe scared to start fertilizing, you can just wait 6 months, but after 6 months you kind of need to fertilize your plants. So I will show you very quickly my setup with the terracotta pots and the pond in my plant room. So here are some of the plants that I grow in the Lechuza Pon in terracotta pots. As you can see, there is pond right there. This is the tray, which is actually kind of dirty, but there is water in here with nutrients because I have been doing this for quite some time. And how it works, the pot will suck up the water and will make sure that the whole pot is saturated with moisture. As you can see, I'm growing all these plants in this way, and well, they look amazingly good, for if you ask me, putting out new growth, And yeah, so far so good. I have been doing this for quite some time, so I'm not scared that it will eventually go wrong. So I would definitely recommend experimenting, because again, experimenting is the key to success. That was it for today. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, please drop a like and a comment below. Please let me know if you have any further questions on the pun. And if you have that, you can ask them on my Instagram, or you can drop them here in the comments below. Also, don't forget to put a thumbs up if you like this video. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more botanical videos in the future.